Skydrift was released on Steam back in 2011 as a budgetware title. It was a fun combat racer similar to the likes of a Mario Kart type game, but in the sky, albeit on a much smaller scale and budget. While it doesn't look like much, the speed and sense of adrenaline you get, even against the AI, is great. It's surprisingly engaging and really fun. It's easy to pick up and play too. As a result of all this, Skydrift has gotten somewhat of a cult following. Today, the market on PC is quite different. Steam is constantly flooded with all sorts of similar, smaller, quality games, and in addition to big digital sales, the days of budgetware developers and their games are pretty much over. With this in mind, does Skydrift Infinity, the 2021 remaster of a budgetware darling, hold up to the flood of the market? Or will it be swept away into obscurity? Let's find out. The original Skydrift can be best described as a fast, frantic Mario Kart in the sky scramble. While it had its limitations through its 30 FPS lock, the small amount of power-ups you could obtain, and no local multiplayer to bypass the dying, unpopulated online servers, it still has an unbelievable charm to it. The controls feel sharp, and the sense of speed is fast. Skydrift even has its share of bonus modes. While not new, these modes were rather uncommon among its peers of other combat racers, especially on the PC, and being in the sky was also a unique bonus. And even though the small amount of power-ups is probably its biggest weakness, you could at least collect 2 of the same power-up for added potency and hold an extra power-up in reserve for some added strategy. Even playing it now, Skydrift is still a really fun game, even if I'm flying solo. The soundtrack is really good too. Sadly, developer Digital Reality, the studio that created the title, went under. THQ Nordic bought the rights and released Skydrift Infinity, which we'll be covering today. This game is touted as a remaster with additional modes and planes with local multiplayer and new online services. Unfortunately, while we're left with an overall improvement on the gameplay side, we're stuck with a mediocre PC port. In fact, mediocre would be a compliment. It's actually a downgrade compared to the 2011 original in some regards. We do get an unlocked frame rate, but bafflingly, there are 0 resolution options. Even some of the worst PC ports I've ever seen have video resolution options. In fact, the original still has video resolution options, and we're almost a month past release and they still haven't patched this. And for me personally, getting this game working properly, just to record it, was a crapshoot. In fact, getting it to work in general was a crapshoot. First of all, I had to disable the Xbox configuration support option in my Steam settings for the game to even recognize my controller. To give you an idea of how lazy this port is, when selecting what controller you are using in the settings menu, you're shown a picture of an Xbox One controller, but the text still reads Xbox 360 controller. I also couldn't get Remote Play Together working properly, even when I was able to get it working with other games. If you are using a monitor that goes beyond 1080p, you might have additional issues. The resolution issue can creep in because you don't have an option to configure it. My living room PC worked fine, but on my desktop, the image would not scale properly. And this is really weird, because when loading the game, the company logos and all the copyright information, that stuff was fine, it was full screen. But when I got to the title screen, everything was all messed up, like it was cropped and moved to the corner of the screen. It's like I screwed with the scale and layout settings in Windows 10, but as you can see, nothing is wrong with it. I can get it to be full screen if I have my monitor resolution set to 720p, but now it looks worse than the original because I'm running it at a much lower resolution than I ever did back in the day. In fact, right here, this is actually how it plays for me. I have to zoom it in during editing for it to not look like crap. And just to check to see if something else was horribly wrong, I loaded up the original Skydrift, which include the option to change the resolution and go beyond 1080p, and it still works fine. What the hell happened? How did you mess this up so bad? It's been a month since launch, and none of these issues have been fixed. On top of that, the remaster's feature set is really subpar. Yeah, there are a few new skins, and new online servers, and a split screen mode, which is really nice. That's a big plus for me. But the new modes are just baffling. Skydrift is designed tightly around a very small handful of offensive and defensive power-ups that are upgradable. Compared to games like Mario Kart with a massive item system, there's limitations on what the game can achieve by comparison. And what Skydrift does not do well is a battle type mode, which is added here for the Infinity version. You can fly around and kill your friends rather than race, which seems like a good addition, but since the items are so situational and limited, you end up just flying around and waiting for the good items to spawn to kill each other. The only useful items for this mode are the machine gun and missiles, which require some amount of skill to use effectively in a situation outside of a race, where you need to hit your target effectively and you're not constantly getting refilled on items to try again. So if you load in with some friends, regardless of skill, you're going to be bored flying around waiting for the good items to reappear and spawn. Alright, let's wrap it up. We're going to sum most of what I've said already about this game on 3 criteria, and then I'll give you my final thoughts. On Quest for the Couch, we look at price, the pick-up and play aspect, and lasting appeal. For $10, this is at tier 1, so under $10, it's $9.99, and it's a good value for tier 1. Online multiplayer with 4-player split screen in addition to some decent AI in the single player, that's pretty good for the price point. I'm glad THQ didn't make this inferior port more expensive than the original. So that's good. The initial value is fine. You will have to unlock more tracks very soon, but the amount of modes you have out of the box that are fun will keep it fresh until then. You can play multiple tracks with different modes attached to them, just don't play the battle mode. Pick up and play aspect. This deserves mostly low marks. While setting it up with a bunch of Xbox One controllers was fine, the issues with remote play together and having to toggle that Xbox configuration support button in Steam Big Picture mode is kinda dumb. Although for someone like me, I usually check all this stuff like crazy, but for the average user, they might spend like 10 extra minutes trying to figure out what's wrong while they're embarrassingly keeping their friends waiting. Remote play is very finicky, so I'll excuse that for now, but the resolution annoyances can be a potential landmine for anyone playing this. I don't care if it's a few clicks to maybe fix it, go to Windows, go to display options, check your monitor, reduce the display to 720p to make it look like crap now. Some people will excuse that, even though it's simple, but I'm sorry, I've just heard this argument 1,000 times before. It's like, oh, only a few clicks. You're making it look like crap. You're setting it to 720p like I'm in 2008. Well, anyway, it's still a few clicks every time you want to play this game, as opposed to just pressing A and launching it, like on almost any other game I've covered on the channel. And finally, you have lasting appeal. So online is not going to last. I'm going to tell you that right now. Offline is where it's at, and single player will keep you engaged if you're like me. It's a lot of fun to play, and I'm glad this remaster came out to remind me of that. The mode selection for racing is good, with elimination type modes in addition to modes that shake up the gameplay a bit by stripping it down, particularly the ring racing mode that has you move through rings that give you boosts. This mode removes power-ups, so it might work better for some people in your group who are just tired of being blown up all the time and want something much more skill-based. These racing modes are all fun, and there are a good amount of maps from the original, even if the remaster has nothing new in that area. There's also the issue of the throw-in modes to bump up the feature list. Battle mode, as I've said, isn't great, but overall this is still the content of Skydrift, and everything else is either hit or miss on top of that. So it was worth playing back then as much as it is now, so lasting appeal is pretty good, as you'll also have some extras from the remaster here, for like unlocking planes and skins and stuff, but the overall conclusion I'm drawing from this, and I think you can guess it, I really like Skydrift, but man, this remaster kinda sucks. It's a real shame because the core gameplay is still a lot of fun. Part of me wants to recommend this release for that reason alone, because it also has split screen now. But the other part of me doesn't want to recommend it because this release is so bare bones and lazy, I don't want to give THQ Nordic, or tell you to give THQ Nordic, my or your money for this level of laziness. And it's not like I can say to just play the original release because it's thankfully still on Steam. The original does not have split screen, which is the whole point of me checking out this version for this series. Quest for the Couch is about split screen games on your couch. If the game is being a pile of shit, it's annoying to set up with friends to play it with on your couch. I'm not going to want to play it. I want to jump in and get started, not dick around and change my resolution options. That's the last thing you want to do when you're with friends, is wasting time not doing stuff with them, dicking around with options. half the reason I made this series in the first place, in this system of criteria where I gauge value, accessibility, and lasting appeal, especially accessibility, the ability to comfortably and conveniently play the game without any fuss. What the hell happened here with this port? If they literally just added manual resolution options, this could be fixed easily. And as for an update, I highly doubt it's coming. It's been an entire month and there's no word from THQ Nordic on the Steam page at all whether or not they're going to fix this. So I'm going to recommend this game with a big, gigantic asterisk. It's probably the closest I've been to not recommending something, but still recommending it. Use the Steam refund system to your advantage and use the refund report system effectively. Get THQ to fix this crap. I can just barely deal with it because of the fun game underneath it being playable in split screen, but otherwise I check out something else. If you don't want to give your money to developers and publishers for being this lazy, I totally understand if you want to do that out of principle, but I am here to tell you about the game, and while that is annoying, the resolution option is a thing that affects gameplay because, you know, it's about your time trying to get into it and playing it. It can be fixed very, very easily. So it is annoying, and you have to, of course, toggle it off to, you know, go back to a normal person's resolution. And sometimes it might not even happen. It might not even happen. That's the other thing. It's not constant, as reported by many people on the Steam forums and my own experience playing it on different computers. Unfortunately, when it comes to recommending other games, the only games I can think of on PC that come anywhere close to this is Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing Transformed, and only for the flying segments of that game, because it's still a on-water and on-ground racer. It's a fun kart racer, probably the best one on PC, but we really need some new competition in this area. And, you know, Sonic, that game is getting up there. The new one is not even, like, transformed. There's no flying. And this game is a remaster of a title nearing 10 years of age. So I don't know. We need more stuff. Maybe if Activision releases CTR Racing, but even then, that doesn't have flight in it. So Skydrift is going to be in a very unique position for a very long time, and I can still recommend it because it's fun. The original is fun, and this port is not so egregious as for me to not be able to recommend it. So I hate this. Technically, I guess, yeah, I'm recommending it, but with a big asterisk. Just, yeah. Alright, anyway guys, thank you very much for watching. If you want to check out my Steam curation page, I have a ton of titles on there that I've recommended in some lists, as well as every game that I've recommended from Quest to the Couch that I've covered on the channel, from every video that I'm proud of. You can check out that list there. I'll leave a link in the description and in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. I'm out.